Yo, Eazy.
What's up, guys? My name is Evan Duval. This is Eazy Does It. Thank you for joining us. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Eazy's Listening Room and Studio. I'm here with my friend Zach Horvath. Let's give it up for him one time.
What up, what up?
All right, y'all. So what we're doing here each week is we're featuring somebody that's contributed to this community in a major way or is currently contributing to Austin, Texas in a major way. We're here to showcase the talents and passions and pursuits of people that are here within our own city. And we'll get into the story of how we met and what brought us together. But let's get a raise of hands for who has seen this art before of Live a Great Story.
Dope.
I love that. Well, cool, Zach. Let's go ahead and get an introduction.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? Thanks for coming out. I'm excited to be here. I'm Zach. I'm actually from Austin. And I guess starting from the beginning, Live a Great Story was really inspired by traveling. So when I was 22, I booked a one-way ticket to Europe. I actually didn't go to college, which is what I wrote on here, which I'm excited to talk about. But I booked a one-way ticket. I ended up traveling for about 7 months all through Europe. And just through that experience of like bouncing around all around Europe and really staying in hostels, couch surfing, hanging out with people from all around the world, I got to connect with people from all different backgrounds and cultures and, religions and languages. And, we're sitting in a hostel, chefing up, meals, drinking wine and talking about life. And I was just got like this really cool realization that no matter where you come from or what your background is, we're all on our own journey and we're all really just trying to have a good time while we're here, really live our story, be the best person that we can be and kind of tune into our path. And so somehow out of that experience, Live a Great Story came out. And I came back to Austin and grabbed a can of red spray paint and spray painted a Live a Great Story on a wall on the pillars underneath a bridge under Mopac. And long story short, people started taking photos of it. It started spreading through Instagram. And now about 8 years later, it's spread all over. There's a bunch of people with tattoos. I think like 30 some people have Live a Great Story tattoos. There's over 1 million Live a Great Story stickers out in the world. There's a bunch of them up here for y'all to grab if you'd like them. And it's really turned into this amazing way for people to connect, because what ends up happening is, your story is your story. And I think that's one of the coolest parts, is that it's very specific to your journey. And that when you're kind of living that, whatever that is for you, and you're on the journey, you're figuring it out, you're really high, you're doing really well, or you're really low trying to figure out what your next steps are, that allows you to connect with people and to share and really understand who you are and who other people are, and to use that very human element of a story to connect really deeply with another human. And so that's the kind of the long story short. And it's obviously based out of Austin. There's a bunch of stickers and stuff everywhere. I'm glad that some people have seen it around town, and stoked to just be here hanging out and talking about stories, and hopefully hearing some of y'all's stories too.
Absolutely, man. I think that's what's incredibly special about this space and what we've created here. Is there's one word that really sticks out to me in this, and it's the listening room. And that is going to give us a chance to really walk into this space and have the capacity and the attention in order to remove stimulation and start to listen to people's stories and perspectives and simple conversation, as well as music and comedy. And we can expand on that and really get to know people that are here within our city, whether they're from here or they have moved here. It's really important that we take the time to listen to one another and hear each other's stories out. All of us are unique in that sense. There is a lot of shit that has gone wrong. There is a lot of shit that has gone right for us all to be sitting in this room right now. And just for us all to appreciate that within each other, that can be an unspoken sense of gratitude that we are just here on a Thursday night in one of the best cities in the world. It's another thing to expand on that and to have a sense of curiosity for each other. For us to wonder what made someone who they are today, for us to have the space to not interject, to not need a sense of validation, to not just be self-serving throughout our conversations, to show each other how smart we are or how much or how important we are. What we can really do is start to just say less or shut the fuck up, and we can start to hear each other, and that is what's going to make this city a better place. That is what's going to start to take down these boundaries, and we'll start to identify with each other because we're not listening to our expectations, and we're not listening to what may be assumptions, and we're start to really see each other for who we truly are. The first time I met Zach, we met at Cosmic Coffee here in Austin, had really no idea anything about each other, but we admired each other's platforms on social media.
Before that, so actually, let's reverse a little bit, because that's the second time that we actually met.
Oh, right, yeah.
But we were sitting out here, and I was like, yo, I saw this van sitting outside. I was like, that's a dope van. I've seen that on Instagram. And then I saw that he had been hanging out. And I was like, okay, maybe this is the homie. This is who I've seen. And so I walked up and I was like, hey man, this is your van. I got a sticker for you. And I just handed him a sticker. We basically shook hands, dapped up, and I dipped. And he was like, hey, hit me up. And so we ended up connecting. So it was that kind of, I think that's what's cool about Austin and being here, right? Is you cross paths with people, and you maybe see someone one time, or you see them at maybe yoga, or at a concert, or some sort of event, and sure enough, you're probably going to run into them at Barton Springs or somewhere else around town. And I think it's a small enough city where you can kind of cross paths with people, and if you do start seeing people often, there's probably a reason for that. And that's kind of how we met. We're like, hey, we are familiar, but then actually taking that initiative to say, hey, let's actually like meet up and grab a coffee at Cosmic, and to take that next step. It's
a chain of events. I had been told, like, hey, have you met Zach Horvath? Y'all are reminding me of each other, of y'all's missions, and we hadn't crossed paths yet. But as soon as you start to cross paths with someone time and time again, it's time to start paying attention. And this is a city where we do that. My friend Daniel, sitting right here in the crowd, for an example, I think within a week of meeting him, we ran into each other 4 times. And I was like, all right, that's definitely the homie. And so in this place, you have the ability to cross paths with each other, and you have the ability to get to know one another. I've been expressing a lot lately, and I think it's a really important time to do so, about my perspective on what makes Austin special. So I want to bring it up, and it might hit home for some people in this crowd, but so there's a lot of people from New York City, there's a lot of people from LA, there's a lot of people moving here. What's important is that we see what is truly special about this place, and I feel like I'm in a position to articulate what I think is special about this place, having grown up here and spent a lot of time thinking about it, and then while I was in the Navy, missing it. And coming back, I see us in this point of transition to where, okay, you go to New York City or on the East Coast. People want to know who you are and what you can do for them. How can you help me? Right? And that may be even a friendly interaction. It's like, okay, I like you. How can you help me? You go out to LA. If you walk in the door and people don't know who your name is, you already have an uphill battle to be liked in that room if they don't know who you are. You come to Austin, nobody gives a fuck who you are. They definitely don't care what you do. They might get your name. What people want to know is, are you cool? Right? That's what people are waiting here for. How do you treat people? What kind of person are you? They may be someone who is wildly successful, one of the major leaders in tech, or a successful venture capitalist, or a politician, or whoever it may be, but they're probably sitting in vans and, a t-shirt right next to you at the bar. It's just the kind of place this is. You never know who anyone is. And so everybody just kind of has this kind of way of treating each other because that's just the status quo. And I've seen that narrative change now coming back into this city where I'm seeing Austinites like, yo, you're not welcome here, or I'm an OG, you need to listen to me. I know where all the good spots are. And it's just really not the city that I grew up in or the city that I fell in love with or missed. The place that I knew was always a place where you were free to express yourself no matter where you're from. And if you didn't know where to go, we we're going to tell you where the best spot in town was, and with a smile. and it's important that we get that back to that point. And that takes, being comfortable in yourself and giving people a chance to prove themselves in a friendly way.
I think a really interesting element of this is that when meeting people, not having an expectation of who you're meeting, because I think that I've been reflecting recently a lot on, I think social media is such a crazy thing, and probably most of us in here grew up in kind of the boom of Facebook and Instagram. Now we're getting into TikTok, which is kind of a whole different game. But there's so much stigma attached to that, and especially, I mean, I've been to other cities and that kind of, who are you, what can you do for me element. And Austin doesn't really have that. But still, I think that because we've grown up in this world of online, and there is that, like, how, like, what are you doing, and in a sense of, do you have a following? Are you creating content online? Are you sharing your perspective, your worldview? Are you blogging? Are you creating videos? And I think it's interesting because now with this kind of transition, I mean, so many of my friends are like, yeah, I'm getting off social, I'm doing this. I still run a business, you still run a business. Probably most of us in here are somehow socially involved in a business, and our kind of value is attached to how we portray ourselves online. But there's like this separation of meeting someone that I'm trying to really get back to, I think, that of disconnecting and meeting someone with no expectations. You have 0 followers, you don't get any likes, you're not even on whatever. It's like, how do you, and how do we come to shaking hands and meeting people back to that? Because then what you can do is really start from 0, and then you can build a relationship that's not based on external factors. Is really like, do you connect with this person? Do I connect with this person? Do they like this conversation that we're having? Are we having an interesting dialogue? Are we getting challenged? Are we listening? Are we interacting with authenticity? And I think it's I feel for myself like such a unique space to be in, where I'm like, I really don't want to build an Instagram or a TikTok following. Like, Live a Great Story has a decent Instagram, but I'm like, I kind of want to step back from that. And so I think it's an interesting place to kind of feel like, how do you feel about that with like meeting people? Because I mean, there's so much, we got introduced through Instagram, which is amazing, but then we also met in person without too much background there. So it's kind of something that I've been bouncing around. Do you have any thoughts about that?
For sure. I think that social media and Instagram specifically they're very useful tools. I always say you're either using it or it's using you, right? And that can be, ebb and flow of like, sometimes you're getting used, sometimes you're using it. I try not to just like endlessly scroll. I try to hop on Instagram and post and just get off, or, and connect or send that message and bounce. Like, I try not to spend too much time there because it'll suck you in. There's so much stimulation and so much going on that your brain just gets exposed to way too many, way too much information at once to really break it down and truly understand it. Our brains learn at a much slower pace. But I think it's good as well, because you do have the opportunity to get exposed to people, perspectives that you wouldn't ordinarily cross paths with. But, just because we've created something or invented something doesn't mean that we're using it correctly, right? And so I think that's where really innovation starts, is we say, okay, this is a creation that we have. We don't have to start over. We don't have to invent something new. We can just say, okay, are we using it right? I think that should always be the question. For me, I stepped away from social media for years because it did make me feel anxious. It did, just kind of twist or, rub me the wrong way with, what my expectations of, relationships or jobs or the things that I really wanted in the world. And I didn't miss social media. I ended up getting back on, really in one instance, because I realized that in order to serve in the capacity that I was hoping, I had to go where people's attention was. And sometimes at their worst moment, when you're laying in bed alone, depressed, and you're just endlessly scrolling, like, maybe you don't need to see that Barstool post. Maybe you need to see a shitty picture in a journal entry from some dude you went to high school with, and that has evolved. where I started getting messages and thank yous for just being something different on a feed, and that's where I was hooked. That's why I'm still here today. And I've kept asking myself that question. Everything I've done on social media has stemmed from one goal, and it's to connect to one person, just someone who's not expecting it. And if I can do that, it's a success. That has evolved as I got better into thinking, okay, how do I use social media to get people back in person, right? So we can go to that platform with that flyer, with that story post, with that link to get here, to shake hands, to have a good time, be reminded what's real, right? Listening to someone's story instead of just tapping a story and saying, that's not good enough, that's not good enough, that's not good enough. Oh, fire 100. Get the fuck out of here. It's not real, dude. But those people have a story. They're trying to express themselves in some capacity, and it has a place. I just hope that is witnessed and shared, and we're just not ew. What the fuck are they doing? No, just if you don't like that person, just unfollow them, get it out of there, and go meet some people you do vibe with, right? And so, that's really what we're doing here. And there's a lot of resistance in that by just not doing what the blueprint is, not doing what the status quo is. We have an uphill battle getting people like y'all out tonight with an anonymous platform of who are we featuring, who's playing live music tonight. I guarantee I could have made a flyer that said, all right, I got my friend Zach Horvath coming out tonight, and half the room would know him or is friends of him or has seen his work and recognized that, and they're like, oh, I want to hear his story.
It was really weird not promoting this.
Right, yeah, it feels weird, right? But I'll stick by it. The impact that has is that we're not drawing people out based on their interest. We're not drawing people out based on what they think would be fun. Instead, we're creating a concept that everything in this room is local, and you'll probably see Zach out, next week. And everything,
which I think is cool, because then, if we did promote this, then you're bringing out people that are interested in a topic, right? Or, they know who's talking, what that person's about, but then it brings out those like-minded people in a certain way.
They already know what they like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now, ideally, what happens is we're bringing out like-minded people who are like-minded and buying a ticket to something they really don't know about, right? They don't know what's going to happen. They're kind of open for the idea, different versus same. And I think that's what's cool, is that you can find similarities, and instead of finding the similar people, you're finding similarities in different people, which I think is all the more important, especially with how we get divided and segregated and boxed away. And I think that's really cool, because then you're having conversations that you're not normally having. You're talking to people that you wouldn't normally talk to. You're asking questions that you don't normally ask, and you're listening to responses that you normally don't hear.
Yeah.
And I think that helps each of us grow in a unique way that we're maybe not used to, or is slightly different than our average, which pushes our boundaries.
Absolutely. And that came up this week as well. We were thinking about what was the response last week? What can we do better? Right. And to assume that, we're going to get 100% positive feedback every week is naive, right? Because my goal is to ride that line of where people are taking the time, whether it's 45 minutes or an hour, to listen. They're hearing somebody's perspective. They may even have resistance at first. They may not identify with you or me or what we're doing. Maybe they start to feel, maybe they don't agree. Maybe they hate us. But man, I just want to make people feel in this room. I want that to be the feeling. If someone's feeling anything, whether it's negative or positive, you are writing your story, bro. That is real. And so, for us to dial that in and show off different perspectives and bring in people that challenge each other's perspectives is really the goal here. If we have, an 80-year-old rodeo cowboy one week that built a dance hall down the street, and then we've got a leading investor in Bitcoin the next, where, y'all grew up a county away from each other. That has an opportunity to, open people's minds to industries and perspectives that they wouldn't ordinarily seek out. You're not going to catch me at a Bitcoin convention, downtown. But if I meet a guy that's, has knowledge in something, and we want to sit down and listen to each other for an hour and try to expand on that, I'm going to learn something. We bring a crowd in here, we're all going to learn something, and that might strike some interest in new things or bring up new ideas. And I think that's the reason that, we're all here, is we're looking for that. What is that next thing that's going to feed us tomorrow and the next day and so on?
I mean, that's legitimately how Live a Great Story started, is like sitting across the dinner table with people from all over the world, similar ages, sometimes not, different, same, but like more different than we are similar.
Yeah.
But
and you were traveling alone?
Traveling alone, yeah. You meet someone and they just got to the hostel, you just got to the hostel, they came from this country, and you're talking about so many different things, like that kind of the, the Bitcoin to the cowboy. Those conversations happen with, that delta or that spectrum happening with, almost on a daily basis.
Yeah,
and
I remember sitting with a German professional skier and like this Irish fascist, and we were just like arguing about the American military, and I was like, I'm military, guys. Like, let's talk. And the fascist just stormed out. Like, it was intense.
Yeah.
But opened my mind, But that's just, hostels and traveling alone there's some of my favorite memories, because like, even if you travel with someone that you love, or, is one of your best friends, or your brother or your sister, like, you still have a tendency to isolate and, have expectations of, a set schedule, or, you might go to a cafe and just talk to each other the entire time. And I love traveling throughout Japan alone, because I was staying at hostels and everything, and I would just, like, if I wanted any social interaction, and I like social interaction, I would just have to engage, And so I remember this one hostel, the Amano hostel in Shinjuku, Japan. I stayed there multiple times, and they had a happy hour at 5 p.m. every day, and I'd always go out and see whatever during the day, come back, shower up, and make that happy hour, because I would just always wait for like whoever the first person was to come down and grab a beer, and I'd always go sit with them, whether they felt uncomfortable or not, and usually that wasn't the case. And Japan was a cool place to do it, because women felt safe enough to travel alone, and a lot of people were traveling alone. And I remember going out for New Year's, I think it was 2018, and I ended up wrangling up a group of like 15 people from 12 different countries, and somehow we went out in Tokyo, and we all made it back on like the 7 a.m. train together, like all 15 of us. I don't know how that happened, but incredibly eye-opening to do that. But yeah, I think let's hop into it today. Let's expand this into the room, dude. You down?
I think so. Let's do it.
All right, guys. So we started out with these cards. I wanted to kind of, bring Zach in and say, all right, how should we present this? How can we change this up each week? And we want to take something that is basically the podcast format, right? And I think that there is room for innovation in that as well. I've always loved the Q&A portion of these podcasts, but today we want to get a little bit more interactive, and all of us take a moment to share kind of shortly what brought us here today and whatever you wrote down on your cards. So we're just going to pass the mic around, and if anything kind of sticks out, I really want to expand on it.
So are we gonna pass it around?
Yeah.
Everybody gets to say what they want to say, and then we'll go back to expanding. Or if you read it and you want to expand in the moment, can you expand for like a couple sentences?
Sure.
Which one do you want to do?
Let's do the second. So if you feel like expanding on it and you feel like you need to explain it a little more, let's do so. I'll start by reading this quote, which I love that Zach picked. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Howard Thurman. So before you jump into the evening, take a second to reflect on what accomplishment has made you feel truly alive, big or small, internal or external. A part of your journey you'll remember for your whole life.
I was thinking about I added that whole life part because I think that there's certain things that happen that are like kind of monumental in our life that we can really pass on to other people, because we have moments that we learned a lesson or we tried something or we accomplished something that is so important that sharing it, I think, is also really important, because that's lessons learned secondhand are oftentimes better than firsthand. Firsthand lessons are really painful. They hurt. They kind of suck. You don't want to fail and fall on your face, get scraped up. And if you can help teach someone else that lesson, I mean, that's for sure how I've learned so many of my lessons, is other people being like, traveling, for example. People are like, I talk to so many older people that are like, I wish I would have traveled more. Like, I wish I would have traveled when I was in my 20s. And I heard that enough, thankfully, and was able to listen to that I took that advice, mm-hmm. and it is by far some of the best advice I've gotten, along with a lot of other things. But I think that these accomplishments, in the sense of striving, you risk something, you put something on the line, and you accomplish something that makes you a better person that you can share with other people. And I think that all of us sharing that creates this kind of interesting dynamic of talking about something and also listening to other people. And so I'm excited to hear some of these.
You want to go ahead and share yours?
Mine was trusting myself not to go to college. I graduated high school in 2009, which was kind of right around right after the recession kind of hit, and I just like deep down in my like soul knew that I didn't want to go to college. And at this time, I think it's changed quite a bit in the last decade, but every single one of my friends, their parents made them go to college. They're society was like, college is the best route. But I was able to kind of craft a personal understanding of why I didn't want to go. I knew I always wanted to start a business. I had no idea what I wanted to do, like so many life questions, but I just knew that I'd rather learn from the school of hard knocks and like get out there and learn from experience rather than from a book. So I made that choice. Obviously my parents were not too stoked about it. It took a lot of years there, years and years afterwards, like, do you want to go back? Do you want to go back? Do you want to go back? And I just kept turning it down. And that saying no to that in the very beginning led to so many choices that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I wouldn't have been able to go travel like I traveled. I wouldn't have, tried to start the handful of businesses in my early 20s that I started. I wouldn't have moved to a new city at the age that I did. I wouldn't have been able to do all these things if I, hadn't taken this one diversion off the course. And I think it's something that I am really proud of in hindsight, because it wasn't easy, and I had to really earn it in a certain way. And I love this analogy of if you're going to the moon, right? If your rocket's just like a little bit off in the beginning, or you're sailing across the ocean, if your ship's just a little bit off, and you just follow that trajectory, then by the time that you keep veering off and you're way off by the time that you get there. And so that's kind of where I started. I was like, I'm just gonna make this small choice right now that's just a little bit different than the normal, and has led to this massively different direction or destination further down the road than it would have if I would have just made this slight degree different change. And I think it was I'm really proud of that, and it's definitely an accomplishment that I try to share and vocalize and support other people. I'm not saying that it's not for everybody, obviously, but I think that it was something that was really deep inside of me that I was proud to listen to. And I think that's maybe the deeper part of it, is trusting myself and making that decision and believing in like a very deep part of me.
Yeah, I totally relate with that. I had the same feelings of anxiety and just something wasn't sitting right with me of taking advantage of all the opportunities that I had and was afforded coming out of high school. And I made the same choice, that I would rather serve first in whatever capacity that was, which I chose the Navy. Glad that's over. But now I feel better about it. And college definitely wasn't the route. So that's something similar that we share. So I wrote, creating enough space in my life where I have the ability to listen and share that experience with others. I was the dude that just packed everything down. I'd listen to everything, absorb everything, and I just stored it up where I had so much pent up energy that I had no ability to listen to anything. Like I knew where I was going, and you weren't going to tell me twice about it. And that took me to the bottom a few times. And that's still my instincts, but after, pursuing different things in life, I've learned don't always listen to your instincts, listen to your intuition, follow your heart. And for me, that's the harder thing to do, but it gets me a lot farther. So I'm thankful I learned that lesson. Start going around the room.
Do I just get to pick people?
Pass the mic.
Yeah,
Can I put people in the hot spot?
let's go. Yeah, let's just send it down the bench.
All right, Felix, what we got, bud?
Let's go.
Thank you for having me. The reason the moment that was big for me is obviously leaving California. I think a lot of times you have to get away from negativity to be able to show who you truly are, especially after you go through certain transitions in life. Like if you're settled in the same spot, you're not able to see what your growth is, but you come to a new place and people can see you. And I think, tying into what Evan said earlier, a special part about Austin is that people see you, and they see you for who you are and nothing else. And I think that also helps you along the journey and going deeper. So grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Felix.
Hey, my name's Tom. This is pretty easy for me, actually. So I joined the Marine Corps in 2004. Spent a lot of time in the Middle East. Did all that, which has been pretty crazy because of everything that's been happening there recently. But yeah, you learn a lot about yourself when you do that. So everything else, I think, becomes significantly easier after that. Like I started my own company 9 months ago. It's like, wasn't that scary.
Yeah.
So that's really it. Pretty easy for me.
Love that, man.
Talking on a microphone is my job, and it totally terrifies me. I'm a musician. I'm a singer, and I didn't even write down an answer to the question because I didn't expect to have to answer it. But here I am in a room with all you fine folks. I guess so much of what I've been hearing is this idea of fear and how to conquer and get on the other side of that. And survival of life is such a big part of fear, what's on the other side of that. And my partner, Nick, and I moved here years ago from Chicago to Austin, and people always think because we're musicians, we moved here for music. But we both had folks that were really sick with terminal diseases. And when you stand beside people who are tracing the ceilings to find thoughts and living inside their bodies and can't articulate words or can't move, it gives you a whole new concept of what survival means. And in those moments when, we sat on the floor and didn't have a whole lot other than each other, it really brought it back home to me. And music kept us upright in those moments, and friends and community and the serendipitous place that Austin is. And it's why we've met people. It's why we're here in this room tonight to play some songs for you folks. So it's a pleasure being here.
All right, as much as
I'm Nick. I'm Paige's other, and while hers is also very impactful, I would have to say the moment that we got engaged was very big. We had been together for 10 years. And from that on, you're just surviving life, and you're going and doing. You're running down the river of where the universe takes you. But it was a moment where I actually had to make the decision to do it, It was more about committing to what I wanted my future to be and what I thought that our future could be. And while it's something that lots of people do, in the way that our lives moved forward, it was very much like it was my job to decide how and when and why and where we're going to go from this point. And so that was very pivotal for me to go like, ooh, it's my turn to actually decide and not let the universe just take me where I go, but to go, to stand on the grounds of where I think our loves could take our lives. So,
Man. I'm a journal on that one.
Hi, I'm Gordon. Thank you for having me here. This is amazing. About 10 years ago, I was working in Los Angeles in the film industry. I was deep in the thick of everything and had the opportunity to come out to Austin in 2005 and shoot and produce the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. And I fell in love with Austin. I knew that there was something special going on here, and I looked at the community in Los Angeles and never felt connected, never felt like I was really entwined with the people in Los Angeles. But my time in Austin shooting those films, I felt blessed, and I felt like this was a community that I could really connect to. So that was pivotal for me, and I came out here and started over, and the community has always embraced me and everything that I've tried to do, and it's a special place. So I love it. That was for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gordon.
I'm just gonna expand. I'm Harry, by the way, Harry Callion.
What's up, Harry?
Hey, buddy. I'm an attorney. I actually represent the guys here. So, similarly to Gordon, I've been in New York City for about 20 years, and a pivotal moment for me was having a child, and that opened my heart because I was raised with like 93 in Chicago on 93 XRT to be a hater, to be a music critic, and I thought that was showing love by criticizing and analyzing things, and that's what probably New York and Los Angeles are all about. And having a child kind of opened my heart to being like, you know what, let me just let the feelings flow through me. And I will say this, coming to Austin, I've been here a couple of years, and I still, the pandemic kind of made me be an Austin guy, and I'm trying to be more of an Austin guy, and I have a building an Austin presence here. This is the greatest place on earth, and it's just got this very special dynamic. And I think when people come here from other places, they see this. Believe me, like, I'm hating on myself for being like, for having such nostalgia for this, but I'll relate it to this podcast. When I saw what Evan and these guys are doing here, and heard about this and saw them, I was like, I want to be part of this. And I have to say, so that was, that's sort of the answer to that card, having a child. But I will say that this is a very special and honest experience and a special podcast. And when I saw this, I wanted to be part of this. Mm-hmm. So, as you guys expand upon this, and you spent some time here talking about exactly what the ethos of this conversation is and what this podcast is, and it's very, very special. It's very unique and special. It
Thank
really
you.
is, and you guys should know that. So
We're here now. Let's go.
Hey guys, my name is Mallory. This is an extremely humbling room, and I'm very used to moving to cities that are constantly reminding you that they don't need you. So Austin has been an incredible experience for me so far, and I feel like I've only tapped the surface. This is a place where you can really find yourself in other people, because people are honest and they're open and they want to connect with you, and that's so special, because the more you travel and the more you know about the world, you realize how small you are, and to feel connected is really all we're after. So to bring the whole this whole thing back together, I want to answer this question. What are you most proud of? What I've learned, and I guess travel makes you such a different person than others. And I've learned that through my life, because where we're born is very random. You could have been born anywhere else, into any other culture, into any other religion or society. And for us to question our norms because we know how random it is so important. And, you know, being here has brought me to a place where I have realized that so many people are in survival mode, that they don't know how to dream. And I think that the thing I'm most proud of in my life is to helping other people dream. They are so used to just trying to get by and do what they need to do day to day that they haven't even explored what dreaming means to them or what their dreams are. So what I'm most proud of is helping other women to want more for themselves and to dream, and maybe for the first time in their entire lives. You know, don't worry about your kids or your family or husband or all of your obligations. Who are you and what do you want for your life? And being you is going to make every other aspect of your life that much better. So, yeah, that's what I'm most proud of.
You're doing it. What's up, Eli?
My name is Eli Halpern. I'm a stand-up comedian, co-host of the Giggle Boys podcast, martial arts practitioner, CEO and founder of Golden Cricket, where we're making crickets into protein bars.
Coming soon.
Yeah, shameless plugs. Marketing genius, really. I wrote down that my biggest accomplishment was buying a house, but that's just on a physical level, because if the economy goes to shit, I still have somewhere to sleep and cook food, right? But on a spiritual level, I've done a lot of traveling too myself. I've been to like 25 countries, and one that really sticks out is definitely that first leap. I just bought a one-way ticket to Thailand, no idea where I was staying that night, didn't know anyone there. Ended up staying for 3 months, and I learned a lot about myself. And I feel like a big theme in my life has been fighting fear and just facing my fears head on. Like, I'm scared of big groups of people, I'll go do stand-up comedy to them. I'm scared of getting punched in the face, I'll go get beat up every day. And I do, a lot. It hurts. But it hurts less, and big groups aren't that scary anymore. And diving headfirst into your fears is a real positive thing. And Evan, you were talking earlier about how there was a point in your life where like no one could tell you shit and you're just gonna do what you want. And I've been kind of struggling with the two sides of am I following my intuition or am I just being a know-it-all? So you got to leave room for feedback and openness and listening, which is I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we're going down here now.
Let's go to the couch.
I just love the diversity of all of these.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
All I can say is wow. I'm squirming over here. You're a warrior.
You're a warrior.
You're a warrior. Hello, my name is Amber Valdez. I moved here to Austin in November via Los Angeles for about 18 years. Thinking about what accomplishment to share. But what I think is really important is that we celebrate ourselves. And this is making me nervous to share, so that's why I'm going to share it, because I'm going to lean into that. I grew up on food stamps. My dad was an addict. My mom was mentally ill, so I grew up on free lunches. And I didn't go to college. We didn't have money for college. I was always a black sheep in my family. Always was cheering other people on as a cheerleader and in the NFL, and really just trying to focus on what was working, because my family was so intense and so gnarly. And so I took a very unique path, which led me to chasing my dream of being on TV, which I ended up becoming a TV host and interviewing celebrities for a living, and an awesome eating disorder and looking for my worth in all the wrong places. And I ended up getting like the biggest callback of my life on E! And I had my 5th callback. And at the time, I found out my boyfriend was a sex addict. My dad just died, and I just came off a reality show where I was bullied on, and I really realized I didn't want to be on TV anymore. So my dream was dead, my relationship was dead, and my dad was dead. And I was pretty much suicidal at that point. And I walked off the set of E! There was a voice in my head that said, "You're done here." And there was about 20 execs. It was pretty much mine. And I just walked off. I was like, I don't give a shit about Britney Spears and Miley Cyrus or whose shoes or what. I'm just done. And my plan was to go home and to take an entire bottle of NyQuil PM that night, and my agent and my team told me to go on a hike, and I was going to leave my dog Angel up on Runyon Canyon, and I ended up getting enrolled into an emotional intelligence training that saved my life. One of my friends wrote my name in the sand that morning at the same time I was having my breakdown. And I share this with you because fast forward, I ended up, deciding to share my story, and I was on a platform called Periscope, which was a live streaming app before Instagram and Facebook Live was a thing. And I was just showing up for people and just sharing, positive content and inspiring others. And before I knew, I was shopping at the dollar store and la-da-da. Long story short, one of my lives went viral on Twitter, and I went from like 700 followers to 10,000 overnight. And all of a sudden I had a business, and all of a sudden people want to work with me. And I share this with you because my family doesn't know what I do. They don't believe in what I do. They don't even get it. And last year during COVID, I ended up launching a program, and I made $500,000 in a week. Wow. And I share that with you not because of the money, but because of the impact and the choice of following your dream and being a stand for others. And that was a big deal for me because my mom and dad have never bought a house, and I'm just super honored and blessed to share in this moment that I got to break the ancestral line of karma and scarcity and rewrite that story. Yeah. And so I'm just sharing that because we get to celebrate, not because it's money, but because when we are doing God's work, we're never broke.
Reciprocity.
So, thank you for listening.
Amazing.
I'm excited for this one. Daniel's always dropping knowledge in my world.
Bro, first of all, congratulations. This is epic. You're such an inspiration, and like you shared earlier, that was it, man. I kept seeing your van over and over. Like within the first few days I moved to Austin, and I finally saw you next to me in a yoga class at Black Swan on Orchard, and I just hit you up. I'm like, yo, what's up with the van, man? I'm seeing it all around town. And from there we became brothers, and I'm honored to be here and be a part of this with you. So all of what you shared, I hear my story in, and what came up for me to share, one word in particular is remembering. And this has come to me recently from my decision to become sober. And that's something I'm most proud of because it opened up a door that I can't even explain what happened. The magnitude of the energy and the upgrades and the amplifications of my life that took place when I decided to turn a corner from a way, like a long line of ancestral debauchery, distortion, alcoholism, drug abuse. And, it was almost like I came into this experience to figure out how I could shift this energy for my family. And it took me many years to train and to heal myself. And I kept getting like these pings from the universe, or like, okay, you worked on yourself, now it's time to heal your family. You got to take your dad to rehab, you got to get him to, work with traditional plant medicines. Did all that, and then about a year and a half ago, it was like the big call from the universe that was like, time to pass these torches onto the general arena. And I started getting hit up through Instagram, like, bro, I know who you were 15 years ago. How the fuck did you pull this off? You know what I mean? Like, my nickname used to be Diablo. They used to straight call me the devil. And I was that. I embodied that. And when I started healing myself, I recognized that this is the frequency game here. So I was looping in these lower frequencies for so long, and I was forgetting so much because I was just like clouded. I was like, I wasn't facing my pain. I was masking everything. I was running away from it. So when I started upgrading and taking off the masks, I noticed that, like, hey, I'm shifting these frequencies, and all of a sudden I'm in the room with all these people that are doing amazing things. So that's what I'm here to teach now, and I just feel super honored that I'm passing these torches along. So, and thank you for letting me share, man.
Yeah, it's felt. See your depth, bro.
Shout out to Native Hostel for being this place. I mean, I good connection here because this place embodies this energy, and I think that this is a great spot for all of this. So shout out to Native.
What's up, everybody? My name's Taylor. I'm Eazy's doorman / security. So you act up, I'll be the first and last guy you see. First and last guy you see. I'm from Indiana. I've been living in my van full time for about a year now. Been California, Colorado, Phoenix, every time I come back to Austin, like, I don't know what it is about y'all, but you're magnetic, and like I can't keep away. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago, I didn't know where I was going to be at this time, and I just started following Evan, and he posted saying he needed a doorman. I applied right away. He got back to me right away. That's the end of that, and now I'm here. But which is incredible. I don't have words for this moment right now, or this experience, but grateful is definitely one of those. But to answer the question, originally when I read it, like, I had an answer immediately, and I thought of like, oh, that's it, like, it's gold ball right there. But you guys have really like made me question and expand on that. So originally what my answer is believing in myself. But come to find out that's not a singular moment. It feels like one, but it's really just a culmination of a bunch. Physically, that looks like, to me, taking a large dose of plant medicine in a bus by myself because I was at the deepest depths of the low that I could be at, and I needed either help pulling the trigger or, help putting the gun down. So that gave it to me, and because I'm a big fan of speaking things into fruition, the magic mushrooms told me I was going to be UFC champion, and I said, okay, well, I better start training. 2 years later, I move into my van full time to commit to that dream. A year later, I commit to Austin because I feel like this is where that fire can be fanned and can enrage and be the raging blaze I need it to be to accomplish the dreams that I have. So I guess what my answer will circle back to is the most pivotal moment of my life internally is committing to the journey of learning to believe in myself and trust my dreams and my intuition. Thanks.
All right. Hello, I'm Elise. So much like many of you beautiful people, I spent much of my life traveling. I've had the privilege of exploring a lot of the beautiful places on this earth. After 2020 and spending most of the year cooped up, I decided I was going to trick out my SUV and set off on a solo road trip across the country where I met the doorman over here in Austin. Yeah, back in March or April, I think. And we just been homies, traveling out west together. My travels actually took a little pause. I ended up in South Lake Tahoe for the summer where I had some interesting opportunities present themselves to me. But I don't know if any of y'all know, there's some crazy fires going on in Northern California right now, so I was forced to evacuate. And weirdly enough, I literally just got here today.
Sick.
After 4 days of traveling from Tahoe after having to evacuate. And I hit up my old homie. I was like, yo, I've been debating the last month or so if I should stay in Tahoe or come back to Austin. And I was like, well, I guess these fires are kind of like a sign. And I hit up the homie, and he's like, yo, come out to Native. And weirdly enough, I ended up at this podcast.
Badass.
Yeah, so to answer the question, though, my greatest accomplishment was just the amount I've been able to travel and all of the people I've been able to meet. Honestly, it's been incredible I come from a really privileged background, and it is what it is, but it's been it's been really interesting to get to explore the different neck of the woods and all that. So, yeah, thanks for listening.
That's it. Hey, Drew.
Oh, man. I thought for sure this was going to be out of time or that microphone.
No, we made it, man.
Fuck. Props, Madeline, you, Taylor. Man, powerful stories. That's awesome. Like you, I'm kind of fairly privileged. My big thing was I was a frat boy, and I didn't want to go into that traditional route of grad school or real whatever it was. I wanted to have an amateur fight against somebody, and then that turned into a whole career of fighting the UFC and traveling the world and doing cool shit. And like a lot of y'all, traveling was my big thing. Coming from a certain background, all of a sudden you're around fighters, and fighters come from everywhere. I fought a Brazilian in Sao Paulo. I fought a dude from London and Manchester, an Aussie in Sydney. you meet everybody, and you get all walks of life, and you realize everybody's kind of in for the same thing if they're a good enough person. It's just it was eye-opening. It was good for me, and it's kind of like one of those things like shoot for the stars, land on the moon sort of thing. Like, I wanted to be a huge name. I wanted to be a champion. None of that happened, but I had a good time, and now I'm doing like shit that like really excites me. I love it. Like Eli, he's one of my guys. He's one of my fighters. He could do big things. So it landed me in a good spot to continue doing what I love, and it was all like from the get-go of going against the grain and chasing my dreams. One more thing, this guy, big fan of this guy, Kevin Ross. He wears a walkout shirt every time. Face your fears, live your dreams, and I fucking love that.
Yeah, dude. Let's keep it going. Let's hit this floor.
Home stretch.
Right on. My name's Trey. Got a lot of warriors in the room, apparently. So I got my own warrior story. I went to law school here in Austin. Had some job offers in Austin, but decided to take an offer up in L.A. at one of the hottest production companies at the time. In-house counsel for them. Met a guy out there a few months in. He said, friend of a friend, he was getting evicted. He got a restraining order against him. Can I help him? And that wasn't what I did, so I tried to farm it out to other lawyers. But everybody thought I was too weird and they wouldn't help him. But 6 months into that cool job at one of the hottest production companies, that company decided to fold. So I was out of a job. And I called this guy up and I said, man, fuck it. I'll take your case. I've never done litigation. I've never gone to court. I'm just out of law school. But I made the LA Law Library my office for the next year and a half. Defended this guy in court, sued the same people in court, billionaire developers. They threw all kinds of lawyers at me, insurance lawyers, big firm lawyers. But I fought those people for 1.5 years, and I won case after case. And, eventually got paid for it. But, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Ooh, behind the back. Behind the back.
What's up, y'all? This is awesome. How crazy to come to a random room with all people you don't know and share it all. It's crazy. My name's Tanner. I moved out here from Fayetteville, Arkansas 4 or 5 years ago. Seeking some mental health help, if you will. Some addiction, some anxiety, all the stuff, right? The stuff everybody has. And after being out here for a while, took a big leap in opening a small business, kind of dedicated to some of that. And yeah, that's what a lot of y'all kind of echoed, was taking that leap, right? We opened a space dedicated to nothing, right? We do float therapy, and it's literally nothing, right?
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's brought me so much I could have never imagined, so yeah, take the leap, right?
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
Hey friends, my name is Liz. Thank you for hosting this. I decided that my marriage was not serving me anymore, and I got rid of everything, bought an RV, and took my 3 kids and traveled for a year from Mexico to Canada. And it was really empowering. Learned how to do the whole RV thing. Put some boots on. I mean, if I could do it, anyone could do it. And landed here. Looked for a cool place to live, and I adore Austin. Found my business partner, offering float therapy, and shameless plug, Blizzard Yoga Wellness Center. Here we go. Come see us, guys.
What's up, guys? This is really cool. This is fulfilling my fantasy of speaking on a podcast. So thank you. Each and every one of you are so profoundly special, and I'm really inspired by all of you. It's really cool to just walk into a room and intimately understand all of the accomplishments that you guys have gone through. So this is really cool. I'm very honored to be here. My instinct was to take the superficial route in answering this question, but my intuition is telling me that I should step outside my comfort zone. So recently I understood the power of acceptance. And when you're living in a state of denial, you are just prohibiting yourself from being the best person that you can be. And for 13 years, I was in denial that I was navigating an eating disorder. And my health was deteriorating physically, mentally, my relationships. I was navigating a life of just complete self-abandonment, and that fucking sucks. And I decided to accept that and take full control of myself and my health. And so I'm really proud that I was able to choose myself for seemingly the first time, as cliche as that sounds. So yeah, really pumped.
All right. Well, I think that was so incredibly special. Beyond all of my expectations. Yeah. But
my face, I've just been smiling for like the last 2 hours. Like, so amazing to hear, like, the swing of everything, like,
dude,
humanity up here. I mean, it's incredible.
I just want to listen to that back again
Yeah.
and again, and call all of y'all friends. Y'all all inspire me, and yeah, thank you everyone for sharing in such a real way. That was fucking epic. Well, cool, man. I think we're wrapped up. Y'all make our jobs easy. Well, guys, give it again for Zach and what he's done. We've got a little continuation of this. So we have brought one of his flags, and we placed a silver Sharpie here. I'd like each of you to sign your name.
Sign your name, or sign something that you shared about tonight,
Yeah.
like a word or a phrase or something that embodies what you shared, because everybody here shared, which is amazing. And actually in the spirit of travel and the hostel and community and everything,
Yeah.
if you can put that up there, then we're gonna put it up somewhere in here and like share that with other people. And
It's be lasting, yeah. No dicks.
No dicks, yeah. But I think that'd be cool, because yeah, it'll be a way to push this forward and be really special, I think. So and then we're gonna have some music and jams and more drinks and hanging out. So
yeah, let's give it up one more time for everybody in the room. We've got the Reverend Few coming out, the husband and wife duo. They're incredible, so we'll take a moment if you need to hit the restroom or grab some drinks, but definitely stick around. They're a special group, and we're excited to see everyone have a good time tonight. Let's party.